within around 5 years with sustained policy support. The sooner they are achieved, the sooner they will be able to be deployed and can have real-world impact. These so-called races to first include a range of innovation across the entire sector, from the first building cooled with solid-state air conditioning to the first repeatedly deployed small modular nuclear reactor, the first carbon-free flight, and the first low-energy intensity ammonia production. So lots in store there for us to feast our eyes on in the presentations that are to follow. All very pertinent to a very wide variety of different important policy goals associated with the energy sector. They cut across 3 main themes: the long-term energy security, environmental protection, and technology areas with significant potential to generate scientific spillovers to the broader economy. Following the State of the Energy Innovation Report, each race will pass through several phases. So the first phase is testing at smaller scale or in a different configuration. Second phase would be the raising of the funds and preparing for the next phase. Phase 3 is the construction and the criteria that need to be met. And the finish line is when the criteria are met and that there is a successful demonstration. The IEA is tracking the progress by the frontrunners as a means of recognizing excellence and identifying areas for action. For each race, several projects and companies are currently vying to achieve the milestone first, mostly before 2030, and often with competing technology options. Progress towards the finish line represents much more than technical development and finance, and our experience, surely in the European Commission itself, is that bringing a new technology to the market requires much more than technology development and finance. There are many non-technical obstacles that stand in the way, or which could stand in the way for longer if we allow them to, which innovators must also tackle. I would invite you, therefore, to think about the regulatory issues, safety, societal readiness and acceptance, permitting, infrastructure, supply chain development, and market development. This deserves recognition and support from policymakers and other actors. In today's session, we shall therefore see the contribution of 4 inspiring companies which are pursuing innovative energy projects. Each is working on a project that addresses a critical piece of the energy innovation puzzle. The session will therefore showcase their projects and highlight how, through agility, fresh thinking, and the courage to challenge established models, they have tested solutions that, until recently, seemed impossible. Despite significant technical, regulatory, and market challenges, they identified emerging needs, pushed technological boundaries, and helped bridge gaps between research, industry, and society. Look at what made them possible, what were the driving factors, and what were the challenges. So, I invite you to listen carefully to see what lessons we can learn on experimentation, cross-sector collaboration, and navigating uncertainty, offering practical insights for others seeking to innovate in complex and rapidly evolving environments. Before I introduce the presenters one by one, I was told there's a video that needs to run, and it's only 2 minutes long. So, let it roll.
Keeping track of every innovation in energy technology is almost impossible. But at the IEA, we're building tools to try and do just that. Our annual State of Energy Innovation Report captures the latest progress and data. Much of that progress comes from project developers and investors taking risks on new technology in uncertain markets. These efforts will help shape the energy systems of tomorrow. Our Energy Technology Guide is a framework for tracking technology progress. The guide now covers around 640 technologies, and it keeps growing. Each year, around 50 technologies move closer to real-world deployment and graduate to what our experts deem to be a higher technology readiness level. From all the technologies in the guide, the IEA experts have identified over 150 significant energy innovation highlights from 2025. Several of these involved first-of-a-kind, large-scale projects. And that's where the IEA Races to First comes in. This is an interactive tool that tracks 18 global races. Each race has 4 phases, and the finish line is a milestone that no project has yet reached at a commercial scale. In 2025, 3 of the projects moved forwards a phase, each one taking a vital step closer to proving that their technology can work at scale. But uncertainty is a challenge. Markets for some clean energy technologies weakened last year, leading to project delays and cancellations. And several first-of-a-kind projects under construction, including near-zero emission steel and direct air capture, required emergency funding or faced job cuts. With growing competition for the attention of governments and investors, project developers deserve the best possible shot at proving that their technology works at scale. If more contenders are to cross the finish line, we need to share lessons across technologies and borders, and spotlight the policies, funding models, and partnerships that get projects built.
So, there we are. We have a very good encapsulating, I think, of what we're about to hear about more in these real examples. So I'd like to introduce the first speaker, Doris Bakker. He's the CFO of Porthos System Operator. He started his studies in economics and business at Rotterdam University and Rotterdam School of Management, worked at Maritime and Transport Business Solutions, and continued his career at the Port of Rotterdam and was a program manager there. In 2023, he became CFO at Porthos, a company developing a project in which CO2 from industry at the Port of Rotterdam is transported and stored in empty gas fields beneath the North Sea. In 2023, the Porthos storage site in the Netherlands entered construction for operation by 2026 with the first of 4 CO2 sources. That means 500,000 tons. And Porthos is on races to first for the first large-scale multi-source CO2 storage hub in operation. Doris, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Joanna, and good afternoon. Glad to be here on behalf of Porthos, and thanks for the invitation to showcase our project here today. Today I will try to provide an executive summary in 7 minutes of over 7.5 years of project experience in Porthos. So that will be a challenge, but I'll try my best. I really like the comparison to a marathon that was made by Dr. Barrel earlier today. I ran my first marathon last year, and I can confirm that it is a challenge. But actually I can also confirm that you need to prepare for it to run better and faster. And I recognize a lot from that within Porthos. If I'm right, there should be some slides as well to showcase where we are in Porthos, so I hope that they can be put on the screen as well. Porthos is a project for the development of a CO2 transport and storage infrastructure in the Port of Rotterdam, where we, as Porthos joint venture, a joint venture by 3 state-owned companies, are developing the CO2 transport and storage network right now. It's under construction. And if we move to the next slide, you can see a nice overview of this project. So the joint venture by 3 state-owned companies, EBN, the national company co-investing in all oil and gas exploration in the Netherlands, Gasunie, the TSO for the natural gas grid, and the Port of Rotterdam Authority as the authority of Europe's largest port. This infrastructure for transport and storage is developed by the joint venture, and capture of CO2 actually takes place by individual customers of Porthos. That's 2 large hydrogen producers, Air Liquide and Air Products, and 2 large refineries in Rotterdam from ExxonMobil and Shell. We will develop a system where a large onshore transport trunk line is constructed in the port area. A large compressor station on the western side of the port area puts CO2 to high pressure in an offshore pipeline that's connected to an existing gas production platform that's being transformed into a CO2 storage platform and connected to depleted gas fields below it. We will store 37 million tons of CO2 over a 15-year period, equaling around 2.5 million tons per annum, which is more than 10% of the current day emissions of the Rotterdam port cluster. So that's quite a chunk already. We are over-dimensioned for future growth. So future depleted gas fields could be connected to the Porthos infrastructure, and we have an onshore transport capacity of 10 million tons per annum that can, for example, be connected to the Aramis project that's currently under development in a planning phase. The capex of the project is 1.3 billion euros, and as mentioned, we are constructing right now, aiming to be operational by the end of this year. And if we move through the next slide, you can actually see some of the progress that's being made in the port area right now. Next slide, please. Yeah, so here you see what's happening. An onshore pipeline of 42-inch that's being put through this port area that's quite busy below the surface. So it's a challenge, it's been a challenge, but we've accomplished it. So the 30-kilometer pipeline is in the ground and is ready. Main activities happening onshore right now relate to the construction of the compressor station, where our main contractor is working hard to finish by mid of this year. And in the right bottom screen, the right bottom side of the screen, you see the compressors actually arriving last December. That's the heart of our system. They have been installed already by now. So onshore we're good to go, so to say. And if we move to the next slide, you see the progress offshore. That's mainly consisting of an offshore pipeline of around 20 kilometers, 16-inch. That's connecting the onshore part with the platform. You also see a picture of the Valaris 123 drilling rig arriving at our platform, and that drilling rig has been used over the last year to convert gas production wells into CO2 storage or CO2 injection wells. And the 4 injection wells that we will use for Porthos have now all been converted, and that part of the scope is also ready. So the next months will mainly focus on getting the platform ready and solid for 15 more years of operations. The key lessons learned that I like to share here with you today on Porthos is really focusing more on the soft side, so not so much on technical or financial aspects, but really on how we get there in this new form of collaboration between different actors involved. So if we move to the next slide, I've summarized it there. What we have done within Porthos is really to partner across the value chain. I think Porthos is an excellent example of public-private partnership with different actors involved. We had the state-owned companies that were the initiators of the project and that really were the driving forces and are the driving forces of developing the infrastructure. We have private companies that have a clear role in capturing CO2 and delivering it to Porthos, and there's substantial support from both the Dutch state and the European Commission in terms of funding. So Porthos has had more than 100 million of European CEF subsidy, and there's also the so-called SDE++ subsidy mechanism from the Dutch state that has supported our customers in being able to pay to Porthos. It has required a lot of trust and collaboration to get there between all the different parties involved, and we've always taken a value chain perspective, and I think that that's important and also a lesson that could be used in next projects. Take this value chain perspective and make it work, because you need the entire value chain to work to have a solid project. We needed to innovate commercially as well, because there simply was no business case for CCS when we started the project in 2017. ETS prices were at 20 euros per ton, whereas the total chain cost for CCS in our case was around 100 euro per ton. So there was a huge funding gap, and we have been able to resolve that through really innovating commercially and getting things done with the SDE++, with the CEF subsidy, but also with clear allocations of roles between the different parties involved. So for example, our customers were very clear that they needed integrated transport and storage contracts. Porthos parties were very clear that they needed long-term take-or-pay contracts to ensure funding and financeability of the project. And that also meant true honesty between the different partners involved and no fear of a good conflict every now and then. So we've been honest to each other, and that has helped a lot. during the course of those past years. And in the end, I'd like to finish with courage, because it really was what was necessary in the project, to act with shared courage. We've always had this mutual goal, and there could have been 100 reasons not to do it along the way as well. And here is the comparison with this marathon again. You can decide not to have a ticket to your marathon. You can decide not to start. You can decide to stop at 10 or 20 or 30 kilometers. But we've decided to complete this marathon, and we're nearly there. I know that the piece between 38 and 42 kilometers is tough. We're in that piece right now, I think, but we're gonna make it. We're really nearly there, and I look forward very much to finishing this project and get ready for operations by the end of this year. So many thanks, and look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much, Doris. I sincerely wish that you will complete the marathon, and as myself, an ex-marathon runner, I know that you will. You'll get much more courage towards the end. Okay, may I introduce now the second speaker, and this is Charlotte Roule. Charlotte studied in Paris at the Panthéon-Assas University and Sciences Po. Long career, different groups of NG. She was managing director and later CEO at Storengy, which is world leader in underground natural gas storage, CEO at NG China, and now vice president hydrogen at NG. NG is leading the EU-funded HyPSTER, I like that name, consortium of European companies and public institutes. They announced last year the successful completion of 4 months of hydrogen storage testing in salt caverns in France. Storengy is on races for the first fast cycling underground hydrogen storage facility. Charlotte, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and very happy to be with you this afternoon and to share about the HyPSTER project. And indeed, the name was quite a sort of a challenge between teams. The R stands for replicable, and I think that's a very important point to highlight. I also would like to start my presentation with the notion of courage, which I very much like, because I think it's something that we need for our project. So I have a few slides to share with you. First one is about Storengy. I won't last too much on that, but Storengy is a 100% affiliate of the NG group, and what you need to bear in mind is that we are a storage operator, meaning we work with the underground and we are providing flexibility to the energy system with currently natural gas. Idea for us is to go for renewable and low carbon gases, and notably hydrogen. They're coming really in support of the hydrogen system, but also the electricity system, and we work a lot with electricians. So the HyPSTER project, in a few words, so that's a project that has been set up with a consortium, and although I like your idea of preparing a marathon, so definitely I want to go also on this idea. This is something, a project like that you don't do alone, and you mentioned it very well as well. So we are a consortium, really across 4 countries to develop the storage. Idea was really to demonstrate, to show that it is possible to store hydrogen in the underground. What is the purpose of this? Idea, again, is to provide flexibility, balance to the energy system, to the electricity system, but with a molecule which is very different from the natural gas one, from the methane one. So we were facing some challenges about how will the underground react, because we don't have, if you like, tanks. It's really the underground where you put the molecule when you do underground storage. And then how would the surface facility, and notably the well, would react with a very tiny molecule. That's the main point when it comes to hydrogen. So the project is located near Lyon in France, and it benefited from funding from the Clean Hydrogen Partnership. So that's a former joint undertaking. That's the same thing, just the name changed, from the EU. Very important point, because then it showed really the characteristic of this project, which was still a sort of research project, but really aiming at being replicable and going further. So we went on it. There is also a part in this project about hydrogen production, because the idea is to see how do you balance hydrogen production